Half the sub is flooded, half the crew is dead. But where there should be no communications from the entire back half of the vessel, a small amount of laughter can be heard. And even with an individual air lung, a person would have trouble talking, let alone laugh. Maybe a pocket of air exists in one or more of the compartments, but that air would have already been used up. Esprit de corps on this ship no longer exists. It would simply be nice if they could scrap their mission, but they can't because the submarine has literally taken on a life of its own. And its task is simple, to keep following the big ship. But why? The whole event leaves the sub's commander totally humbled. They are not being allowed to control their mission to monitor and target the big ship as necessary. But they also cannot remain submerged while something is wrong with their torpedo tubes. Half the vessel is flooded, and why she is still buoyant is anyone's guess. The only recourse Commander Reason can see, if at all possible, is to surface where they can manually guide the ship's progress, but not in a location that is not safe. So for concealment's sake, how far away from the big ship can they get before the amount of seawater infiltrating the submarine overwhelms their chance for survival? And what branch of the intelligence community is going to have a field day trying to figure out who exactly destroyed the submarine's mission? A defense satellite no longer has a problem detecting the two ships, and surveillance footage has already been transmitted to NSA, NORAD, and local newsrooms around the country. But no one in authority has any idea why the newsrooms would have received courtesy copies. In fact, to make matters worse, Moscow was given pirated copies of the defense satellite communications showcasing two commanders of individual ships struggling to get control of their vessel. The arrival, though, of the simultaneous transmissions at the opposing military headquarters was not a secret, because the astonished faces of those recognizable Russian and military of American leaders was attached in a file at the back of the delivery. And to complicate the complications, no one can understand how these ongoing events occurring at sea had actually been disseminated to these various destinations in real time. The normally complacent submarine crew is becoming claustrophobic when word got out that the forward escape chamber to the outside of the submarine was sealed shut. Cameras located on the bridge ceased to function, and there was no method to ascertain what is blocking the main escape hatch either, which was their assigned means of escape. The submarine commander tried to turn away from the big ship, but every time he tried it was unsuccessful. It was like the ships were magnetized, but the captain still knew they had to surface. But how can you surface when half the sub is flooded? Empty your ballast all you want, but the heavier half of the sub will keep the entire submarine submerged. And even if the sub broke free from its watery confines, it would appear on the surface as nothing more than a bobbing top. Suddenly, though, the submarine is being lifted, as if a hand swooped down into the water and was cradling the vessel as it was moved upward to the surface. Periscope depth was achieved, but facing Captain Reason in the lens is a tanker sitting dead in the water, and beside it is an upended lifeboat. What is more bizarre, though, is a man swimming towards the submarine. And what is totally ludicrous about this feat is his agility to navigate the swells created by the submarine's appearance. What the captain does not understand is that this man has had no formal introduction to swimming in his life. But even though he was a Russian seaman, it made no sense, because to teach him to swim might allow him to abandon his ship. And if you abandon a ship, you're a failure to the motherland. So teach a seaman to swim seemed to be a bad thing to do at the time. The crewman of the tanker, though, was not in control of his faculties. He looked at the swells of small tidal waves, but he glided over them like a professional. This ability, unfortunately, was not what he wanted. He would rather be on a beach, a pier, a mooring, or dry on a military ship disguised as an oil tanker. And as long as his ship floats, he is totally satisfied as a Russian seaman. Unfortunately, for some reason, the muscles in his limbs have ceased following his mind's directives. His father would be proud of him as he took each swell with deliberation, but why is it that one man is going to single-handedly attack a submarine? The forward momentum, though, of his body continues towards the submarine as it breaks the surface of the water and starts to fully expose itself. Questioningly, in his mind, though, the seaman can only wonder, why haven't any members of the submarine's crew appeared on deck as the entire vessel makes its presence known? His wonderment continues as he ponders, why would an enemy sub emerge from concealment alongside a ship it's been following for many miles, many days, and across the Atlantic Ocean from one continent to another? He looks across to the tanker as his fellow crew members look back. Their deck gun revealed, but no one is anxious to fire it, even though the submarine was at their mercy. They only stand and watch as their comrade crawls up the side of the submarine to inspect the submersible, a feat that a normal person could never accomplish because of the pressure of the waters coming and going off the deck. Small tsunamis are a better way to describe the dispersal of the water running off the submarine's deck back into the ocean. But this crew member is lying on the deck as if he was sunbathing on the beach. The seaman's curiosity, though, forces him to regain his composure as he stands up on the deck in order to explore other territories of the vessel for answers he wishes to obtain. So for this reason, any concerns are pushed aside as he starts to climb up the bridge's tower. And he experiences a small mindset of not knowing whether he will have to fight an entire submarine crew utilizing only his hands. Unfortunately, fighting an entire army would be much more appeasing than the actual truth he experienced there. And although his compadres on the other ship are anxious as he continues to explore, they are taken back as the man's face suddenly goes white, even though he has already experienced the potential horrors of the entire open sea and survived. The thrill of the man's journey is gone. As senior maintenance technician, Andropov watches as his subordinate removes himself from the bridge to the deck below and simply sits down on the submarine's edge. What fear could drive a hero to a full state of abandonment?